People remember the home runs. They remember the towering shots that disappeared into the upper deck. They remember the cheers inside Yankee Stadium. They remember the championships, the photographs, and the number 7 stitched across my back. But that's not what I remember. I remember waking up before sunrise because my knees hurt too much to sleep. I remember sitting alone after games long after everyone else had gone home. I remember wondering how much longer my body could survive doing what everyone expected me to do. Looking back, I sometimes wonder if people ever saw the man behind the uniform. They saw confidence. I felt fear. They saw a hero. I saw a kid from Oklahoma who believed he wasn't supposed to live very long. That's a strange thing to carry into a baseball career. Every swing felt borrowed. Every season felt like time I wasn't supposed to have. People thought the pressure came from wearing Yankee pinstripes. It didn't. The pressure came from believing that every man in my family died too young and that I would be next. People knew the player. They never knew me. They never saw the nights when the stadium lights were gone, when the applause had faded, and I was left alone with my thoughts. So let me tell you what really happened. I still remember the sound, not the crowd, not the crack of the bat. I remember the sound inside my own knee. It happened during the 1951 World Series. A fly ball drifted into the outfield and I took off without thinking. That's what ball players do. We react before our minds have time to catch up. Then I saw Joe DiMaggio coming toward the same ball. For a split second, I hesitated. I tried to avoid him. My foot caught a drainage cover hidden beneath the grass. The rest happened in an instant. My body twisted. My knee didn't. The pain came so fast that it stole my breath before I could even hit the ground. I kept telling myself to stand up. I couldn't. I wasn't even 20 years old, and somehow I already knew something inside me had changed forever. Doctors told me I'd recover. In some ways, they were right. I came back. I played. I hit home runs. People assumed everything was fine because I kept putting on the uniform. They didn't see what happened every morning. Getting out of bed became the first challenge of the day. Some mornings I had to sit on the edge of the mattress for several minutes before my leg would cooperate. Walking down hotel stairs hurt. Running hurt. Even standing still hurt. I learned to smile before I walked onto the field. Fans deserve that. They came to watch Mickey Mantle, not a man limping through another day, so I never complained, not publicly. Pain became another teammate. It traveled with me from city to city. It waited in every clubhouse. It followed me onto every field. After a while, I almost forgot what it felt like to play without thinking about my knee first. I thought that was the hardest day of my career. I was wrong. I remember the day my father looked at me and didn't have to say a word. He didn't need to. I already knew what he was thinking. In my family, men didn't grow old. That wasn't just something people whispered. It was something we expected. My father, Mutt, worked hard every day. He believed in baseball, and he believed I could become something special. But he also believed our blood carried a curse. Many of the men in our family had died young from Hodgkin's disease. As a boy, I listened to those stories. I never questioned them. When you're young, the things your parents believe often become your own truth. So I grew up thinking I wouldn't have much time, not 50 years, not 60, maybe not even 40. Looking back, that belief shaped every decision I made. Why worry about tomorrow if you don't think tomorrow belongs to you? Why protect your body if you don't expect to keep it? People have asked me why I drink so much, why I stayed out too late, Why I ignored injuries. The answer isn't simple, but part of it began there. I wasn't trying to throw my life away. I just never believed I had much life to lose. Baseball gave me a future that nobody in my hometown could have imagined. The Yankees gave me fame, money, championships, but they couldn't take away the fear that had been living inside me since I was a little boy. Every birthday felt borrowed. Every season felt like another year I wasn't supposed to see. When reporters ask about the next season, I smile and answer their questions. Inside, I wondered if there would even be a next season for me. Fear can become so familiar that you stop noticing it. It sits beside you on every flight. It waits outside every clubhouse. Eventually, you mistake it for part of yourself. I thought living with that fear was the greatest burden I would ever carry. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part came later. People think I remember the home runs. I don't. I remember a quiet room, no cameras, no reporters, just a wooden training table and rolls of white tape waiting for me before another game. Every afternoon started the same way. Ice, bandage, pain pills. Then someone would ask, "You ready?" I'd nod. What else was I supposed to say? No one came to Yankee Stadium to watch excuses. They came to watch baseball. They came to watch me hit a ball farther than anyone thought possible. So I gave them what they came for. Some days I could barely plant my front foot. Other days my legs felt strong for an inning or two before the pain reminded me it was still there. The crowd never knew the difference. That's what professionals do. They hide things. People still ask me about the tape measure home runs. The one that cleared the facade, the one that seemed to disappear into the night, they ask which swing I remember most. The truth surprises them. I don't remember the swing. I remember walking back into the clubhouse afterward. I sat down. No one was talking. I slowly untied my cleats. When I pulled my right shoe off, my sock was stained with blood. I'd played 9 innings without realizing how badly I'd torn the skin inside my shoe. That's what pain does after a while. It stops asking for your attention. It simply becomes part of you. Winning helped. The championships helped. Holding the World Series trophy felt incredible for a moment, but trophies don't go home with you. Pain does. It follows you onto the bus, into the hotel room, back to your house. It waits beside your bed until morning comes. People think success erases suffering. It doesn't. Sometimes it only teaches you how to smile while you're suffering. I kept telling myself the sacrifices were worth it. I believed that for a long time. Then life showed me there were wounds baseball could never explain. I still remember the silence, not because no one was around. There were always people, teammates, reporters, fans waiting outside the stadium, family waiting at home. But silence has a strange way of finding you, even in a crowded room. Especially after the lights go out, I'd sit alone with a glass in my hand. Then another. At first it felt harmless, a way to relax after a game, a way to forget the pain in my knees, a way to quiet the thoughts that never seemed to leave me alone. Before long, I wasn't drinking to celebrate. I was drinking to escape. Nobody knew how exhausted I had become. Not exhausted from baseball. Baseball was the easy part. The hard part was pretending everything was fine. Every interview ended the same way. I'd smile, answer a few questions, shake a few hands. Then I'd go back to fighting battles no one could see. People imagine fame fills every empty space. It doesn't. Sometimes it makes the emptiness louder. The more people cheered my name, the more I wondered if they would still recognize me without the uniform. Would they still care if I couldn't hit another home run? Would they still see me if I wasn't Mickey Mantle anymore? Those questions stayed with me far longer than any championship. I never talked about them. Men of my generation weren't raised that way. We didn't admit fear. We didn't admit loneliness. We certainly didn't admit we were falling apart. So I buried it under jokes, under smiles, under another drink. Looking back now, I wish I had understood something much sooner. Pain doesn't disappear because you refuse to name it. It only grows heavier. The strongest thing I ever did wasn't playing through another injury. It wasn't hitting another home run. It was finally admitting that I couldn't outrun myself. That realization didn't come on a baseball field. It came years later when my body began demanding payment for every choice I'd made. And by then, the game had already taken far more than I realized. People think everything became easier after baseball. It didn't. The stadium disappeared. The crowds went home. The headlines slowly stopped. But I still woke up in the same body, only now there was nowhere to hide. During my playing days, pain had a purpose. It helped me win. It helped me keep my place in the lineup. After retirement, it was just pain. Every step reminded me of games that had already been played. Every ache carried a memory. I had spent so many years believing I was indestructible. The truth was, waiting patiently, it always does. Then came the hospital visits, the tests, the conversations no one wants to have. Doctors told me my liver was failing. Years of drinking had finally caught up with me. I wish I could say I was surprised. I wasn't. Deep down, I had been expecting that moment for a long time. When you're young, you believe consequences belong to someone else. Then one day they introduced themselves. I found myself thinking less about baseball and more about life, about my wife, about my children, about all the moments I had rushed through because I thought there would always be another season. There isn't. Life doesn't give extra innings. When I received a liver transplant, I understood something I had never fully appreciated before. Time is the greatest gift we'll ever receive. Not championships, not records, not applause. Time, more mornings, more conversations, more chances to tell the people you love that they matter. If I had learned that lesson when I was 20 instead of 60, perhaps I would have lived differently. Perhaps I would have treated my body with the same respect I gave the game. Looking back now, I don't measure my life by the distance of a home run. I measure it by the people who stood beside me when the cheering stopped. Because in the end, that's what remained. People remember the baseball player. They remember the switch hitter. The championships, the home runs that seemed to fly forever, the number 7, I'm grateful they do. Those memories belong to them. Mine are different. I remember my father's hands. I remember the fear that followed me from childhood. I remember the pain I learned to hide. I remember the mistakes I kept making because I believed I had all the time in the world and at the same time believed I had none. Baseball gave me more than I ever dreamed possible. It gave me purpose. It gave me lifelong friends. It gave a kid from Oklahoma a chance to stand on the biggest stage in the world. But baseball couldn't teach me how to live. That lesson came much later. If I could go back and speak to the young man putting on a Yankees uniform for the first time, I wouldn't talk about batting averages or World Series rings. I'd tell him to take care of himself. I'd tell him that asking for help isn't weakness. I'd tell him that the people waiting at home are worth more than any standing ovation. Most of all, I'd tell him not to spend so much of his life afraid of tomorrow, because tomorrow is a gift, and no one truly knows how many they have.